Bela America and director António Ferreira.
Hello, glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation. It's a great festival. Bela America is a film that addresses social inequalities issues. It's a story about Lucas, a poor guy that lives in a real poor neighborhood of a city. The film starts with him and his blind mother being evicted from the house because their building has been sold to build an hotel to tourists. So for that reason, he receives the visit of America, which is a real beautiful woman, a former TV presenter that now, because she's really famous, she decides to run for presidency and become the president of the Republic. So she decides to visit this poor family to show how much she cares about poor people. And in this moment, Lucas, our protagonist, gets to know America. And he becomes fascinated by this beautiful woman, and he decides to use his biggest talent, which is to cook, to try to conquer her. So while she's on the streets campaigning for the presidency, he sneaks into her house secretly, cooks for her, and prepares great meals that he leaves on her table, hides himself, and waits she coming home and observes from the distance this woman tasting his wonderful meals. So this very rich and pretty woman starts falling in love with this mysterious guy that cooks for her every night but never reveals himself, without knowing that he's just another regular, poor, ugly guy from the suburbs. So this is the setup of the story, how two completely different worlds that usually never connects, because the upper class people never look really down to the working class people. And my idea is to make these two worlds come together and see how they react, and if there's any chance that they really somehow become together. Then you have to watch the film to know.
I'm sure that. So, Antonio, through the two protagonists, you were trying to portray the inequality in the society. That is what comes through your film. So, what is it that inspired you to deal with this issue? Is it the condition in your country, or is it anything in specific that inspired you to take up this?
Yes, I think it's we are seeing inequality rising. As times go by, especially calls my attention because societies somehow are getting richer, but inequality is raising at the same time. So it was supposed to be the other way around. As long as the societies become richer, there should be less poverty. And what's happening, for example, in my country, in Portugal, and I think it's happening a little bit in the Western world, is that after a period where things seem to be getting better, now they're getting worse again. So, for example, if you go to Lisbon in Portugal, you will see hundreds of people just living on the streets because they can't afford a house, and you see more and more Ferraris or Porsches or something like that. So, and that's one thing that worries me. I think there's enough wealth in the world, or in my country, that everybody has a little bit of dignity, or at least a place to live. And actually, we're seeing the other way around, things getting worse. So my idea with the film, which is somehow, it's not really a comedy, but it's like with humor. I want to talk about these serious subjects, but with some sarcasm and some irony, so that people kind of look at it.
So that's exactly what I was coming to, actually. So what I wanted to ask you was, do you think for the audience, such issues come across better through fun and jokes where there is a important message at the back, or as against a film which is completely serious and then maybe limited to a smaller audience. So as a director, what is your opinion?
Yeah, I think it helps. I think what we see in the society, people are working more hours. They come home later and later. They are tired, so they don't really want to, at the end of the day, when they have some free time, to look at something tragic or that reminds them of the problems they really have. So I think it's one way that maybe we can draw attention to these kind of subjects that need to be discussed and need to be addressed, is to approach him in another angle somehow. So, and I also like, I think I'm a guy with humor, and I like funny stuff. So I try to combine both of them.
Yes, we have a question there.
My question is to Mr. Antonio Ferreira. You just spoke and you touched about, very important topics of food, popularism, and as well as the humor aspect which you've brought into it. Now, these are topics which could be sensitive as well. So, as a director, how do you know to draw the line between where comedy becomes it's not funny anymore and it's something very serious, because as you said, it is a serious issue which is plaguing Portugal in your country right now. It's an issue which is plaguing the world as well. So as a director, you've brought in humor to it that would probably get a lot of attention, but where do you draw the line between humor and it becoming a little too serious?
Well, in the end, I mean, the main line for the film is like drama. It's a serious film, so the things we're seeing, they are for real. They make sense. They're not out of this world or anything. And the humor comes many times from the situation that it becomes a bit strange. I don't know. For example, the protagonist is really a poor guy, and he's cooking for these beautiful women in a really rich house, fancy house, but he doesn't have the money to buy the things to cook. So he hunts a cat, he hunts a pigeon. So he serves this kind of stuff to this beautiful woman. So, for example, for me, that's funny. I don't know how people react, but for example, in yesterday's projection, when he cooked the pigeon, everybody was laughing. So it's more this kind of humor coming from the situation, that it's a bit absurd, but everything that is happening, it's serious somehow, but then they make some absurd things that make you react. But it's more this very subtle humor.
We have a question from there.
My question is about many movies talk about two different worlds, be it class, caste, or any two different worlds for that matter, be it Titanic, be it many Indian classics. So this story in a way is very, very unique, and I must say very unusually unique, wherein this guy secretively cooks for her and she mysteriously falls in love with the guy. So where did you derive this thought from? I was really impressed with this thought.
Where did I get the idea?
Yes.
Yes, I mean, the first purpose was to talk about these two different persons that never interacts, or at least usually the working class just serves the upper class, and the upper class doesn't really look you in the eyes, so you're just there. You could be someone. And then we had I wrote it together with a friend. With the second film we write together, and he's the funny guy. I'm the drama guy, and he's the funny guy. So we really interact really good together. And we had this idea of using the cooking, as a way of seduction. And then the story kind of started unfolding, always having in mind this central idea: two people from two different worlds that usually would never come together, and they just do because the guy hides himself. He doesn't really show himself to the woman. That's why she allows him in, because maybe she thinks he's just a famous chef or something that is in love with her because she's pretty, and sneaks into her house. And that's probably the reason why she allows this guy in until the moment she finds out who he is.
Do we have any more questions? So I think with that, we've come to the end of the press conference. On behalf of IFFI and on behalf of Press Information Bureau, I'd like to thank all three of you for taking your time out and being here with us. And I think all of us enjoyed learning more about your films. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being here.